To God be all the glory, the honor, and the praise. Hallelujah. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty. For all that is in the heavens and the earth is yours. Yours is the kingdom, O Lord, and you are exalted above all. Amen. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, and welcome to this last day of our Art, Sports, and Entertainment Sphere Week. My name is Rose Mwinyi, and it is truly a privilege and an honor to be your moderator today. Today we have our presenter. I present on sports, and the title is a 21st century tool for disciple making, and is none other than Timeon Spencer. And Timeon Spencer is a dedicated 25-year-old. He stands as a dynamic servant of Christ, deeply committed to advancing the kingdom of God on earth. His unwavering dedication to ministry and his passion for empowering others to fulfill their divine purpose are evident in every aspect of his life and work. And I'm going to invite our presenter today, Timeon, and he will talk to us about a 21st century tool for discipleship making. Please welcome Timeon Spencer.
I am so glad to be here this afternoon, and I am so excited after hearing all that God has done in this past week through all that has been happening. Today, I want to just give honor and glory and praise to God the Father, who continues to sustain us. I want to thank God for you, um, amazing ladies who continue to lead and do a great work. Today, I want to share with you on the power and potential of sport and how sport can be used as a tool um, in this 21st century for disciple making. Well, as you can see on the screen, I'm a part of a regional organization, and as a part of a global organization called the Caribbean Sports and Leadership Movement. And we have been using sport as a tool, as a vehicle, for well more than 20 years in this Caribbean region, for disciple making. And today, I want to share with you on this theme, sport, a 21st century tool for disciple making. And to begin this presentation, I want to start with an activity, a small quiz, just to get our minds engaged. On the screen here, there are 10 sports, and I want to engage you in ranking these 10 sports in order of popularity worldwide. One being most popular, and 10 being least popular worldwide. So let's see what the answers are. Now, starting from number 10, we can see that the least popular sport worldwide is American football, or as um, well, persons who are in the USA would know about this sport very well. And we're seeing that there's about 400 million persons globally that follow American football. And then just after American football, there's rugby, a similar sport with some differences, but enough similarities to American football. And they also have a following of 400 million. And then in eighth place, there's baseball with 500 million individuals following worldwide. And then in seventh, we see there's table tennis. Table tennis have a following of 900 million individuals worldwide. And then in sixth place, there is volleyball, and volleyball also have a following of 900 million worldwide. Then in fifth place, there is tennis, or as we would call this, lawn tennis, with a following of 1 billion worldwide. But neither of these are number one. As you can see, in fourth place, there's field hockey with a following of 2.2 billion individuals following worldwide. And then there's basketball, that is in third place with 3 billion persons following worldwide. And then there's cricket as well, that is tied with basketball, and they have a following of 3 billion worldwide. And then in first place, there's football, or some persons may call or may consider soccer. And that has a following of 3.6 billion people worldwide. Now, why am I sharing this with you? I'm sharing this with you so that you get an idea of the level of impact that these particular sports have on the lives of individuals worldwide. Just about 3.6 billion persons follow football on a daily basis worldwide. And so, as we're seeing here, sport is popular. Sport is where persons are. Sport is where the action is. And because sport is this popular, then it makes it an ideal tool, an ideal mission field for impact and for disciple making. And so let me just talk about the sports movement a bit for you. The sports movement is a movement that has been in existence for well over 50 years. And just about 50 years ago, there was a founder of this movement, a guy called Eddie Waxter. And Eddie Waxter is a North American sport fanatic. And he never really played sport competitively, but he had a passion and a liking for it. He was an avid sports fan. He loved to watch soccer and he loved to watch American football. And just about 50 years ago, God laid a vision in his heart. And the vision in his heart was to be able to use sport as a tool for disciple making. And so what Eddie Waxter did is that Eddie Waxter decided that he was going to embark on a journey with the vision that God gave him to move sport from just happening in North America and see that this sport sport discipleship or sports ministry can also happen worldwide. And so he decided that he was going to take a world tour or a journey across the world, touching every continent, and share about this amazing idea, this amazing vision that God has given to him, and how it is that this vision can be used to transform the world. And so Eddie Waxter decided that he was going to embark on this journey in the 1970s, and he visited every continent that there was. And as he visited these different continents, he engaged persons about using sport as a tool for disciple making. Now, just around that time, sport was very popular. However, it was not well received by lots of believers or Christian bodies because it was seen as taboo back then. But he knew the vision that God would have given to him or laid in his heart, and he pursued it passionately, relentlessly. And after the first journey that he took, while there wasn't much success, he didn't stop. He continued to go and to go and to go and to go. And then bit by bit, he started to see that there was a spark, there was an interest, um, there was transformation stories, there were churches that um, became planted and came into existence because of sport. They were different continents, continent of Africa and Europe and Asia, and all of these continents started to see that this sport that we thought was a bad thing was really a place where true disciple making and discipleship could have taken place. And today, 50 years later, the sports movement is in well over 170 countries worldwide. And the vision that the sports movement has is very simple: to make disciples in all nations for Christ in the world of sport. And so, just to give you a bit more about what this sports movement called Ready, Set, Go is all about, Ready talks about the process of gathering and envisioning people to make disciples for Christ in sport and play. And so what we have found is that a lot of persons, they do not realize or see the power, the potential, and even the impact that sport can play in making disciples. And so Ready was that process of gathering and visioning and helping persons to see that sport is really an ideal platform to make disciples. And so this sport and play offers a unique and powerful opportunities for disciple making, and sports facilitation teams of servant-hearted people can have a huge impact on their communities for the sake of the gospel. And so that is what Ready talks about. And then we move to Set, and Set basically prepares everyone to be a disciple maker. And so Ready gathers individuals and envisions them, shows them that there is a lot of power, potential, and opportunity that sport may have and can play in transforming lives and transforming communities and making disciples. And Set prepares everyone to be a disciple maker. And so Set focuses on the heart of, of disciple making, or the heart of using sport as a tool for disciple making. And all of us need to grow in the knowledge, the skills, and passion required to keep God's ways at the heart of disciple making. And so there are many training tools that are provided to train adults, youths, and children in these areas of disciple making. And then the last aspect of this is go. And go is our response to be disciples and to make disciples in the world of sport and play. And today, I really will be emphasizing or focusing and sharing with you mainly on go, how it is you can respond or how you can be responsive in making disciples in the world of sport and play. And so there are many simple and practical strategies that has been developed in different contexts around the world that just about anyone can adapt and can use to be able to make disciples in the world of sport and play. And these strategies are freely available, shared, and can be adapted for any circumstance. And a bit later, I'm gonna show you and share with you of all of the different material and strategies and tools that are available for free that anybody can be able to adapt um, and use in their different contexts. So I want to share another statistic with you this afternoon or this morning, depending on which part of the world you're at. This statistic is a statistic that was captured just about 5 years ago, and so this statistic is just about 5 years old, and it is believed that as time has continued to propel and to grow, these numbers have changed, and they've gone up significantly, most of them. And so there are four uh, areas here: the internet, the smartphone, church as we would know it, or the gathering of church, should I say that, and sport. And I'm going to show you, right, where each of them rank per billion every week. And you can let me know which of these statistics probably have been most shocking to you or even most interesting to you. So in 2019, the world's population was just around 7 billion or so. And it shows here that in 2019, there was about 4.5 billion persons who utilize the internet. Now, as I share, this number has increased in 2024. This number has gone up. We're seeing a lot more persons across the internet, a lot more persons having access to the internet today. But just about 5 years ago, out of 7 billion people, 4.5 utilize the internet per week. Just about 5 years ago, out of 7 billion people, 2.5 persons had access to a smartphone. This figure also has changed and has increased even more. Just about 5 years ago, out of 7 billion people, we see that about 2.6 to 2.7 gathered weekly for services. And 5 years ago, out of 7 billion people, there was about 5.1 billion individuals who gathered or who were involved in sport per week. Now, all of these figures have increased, thankfully, but I'll tell you this: the one that has increased exponentially, or the two that has increased most, is that of the internet and that of sport. And so this figure today is more than 5.1 billion people. this figure has increased. So this statistic is showing us that sport is where the people are gathered or involved in on a weekly basis, more than they have access to a smartphone, more than they even attend or gather for services across the world on a weekly basis. Sport is where a lot of these things take place. And I know many of us can testify or can share that most of the sporting events that we see happening across the world, most of it happens on the weekends. And because most of it happens on the weekends, there is already a challenge, there is already a competition where sport is competing with the gathering of what we know to be the physical church. And so this statistic is showing us that there's a lot of persons who are engaged and involved in sports per week in the billions. So the question is, why do people love sport so much? Why is sport so loved? Why is sport so adored? Why is sport so followed on a weekly basis? Well, there are a few reasons that I want to share with you about the power and potential of sport. People love sport so much because one, sport is valuable in and of itself, and it is a place to worship God. Sport is a place to worship God. It is valuable in and of itself. We see that the book Romans chapter 12 from verses 1 and 2, it says, I beseech you, brethren, therefore, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and the perfect will of God. Sport is valuable in and of itself, and it is a place to worship God. So sport is powerful, and it has a lot of potential for the believer and for the disciple maker, because it is valuable and it is a place where God can be worshipped with our bodies. Sport is also powerful and has great potential because sport is valued by many people. Many people around the world value sport so much that they would share with you that they are more willing to give up coming to a gathering of the believers on Sunday morning to attend or to watch a football game or to watch a cricket game or to watch some sporting event that is happening around the world. Sport is valued by many people. Sport is loved by many people. Persons save up their entire year's wages to attend things like the World Cup, to attend things like the Olympics, because they value sport a great lot. Sport has a lot of power and potential because sport is a setting in which to live and communicate the gospel. No, I love this point so much because I've had the opportunity to see this point live out and to see this point in a reality. I remember a few years ago, I had the opportunity to participate in a mission event. It was right in Jamaica. In Jamaica, we were engaging a community called Old Harbor. And the Jamaicans, you would know of that community. And while we were engaging that community, we were engaging that community through sport. And just around that time in 2017 or thereabout, there was a lot of, the community was very volatile, and there was a lot of increasing violence and crime that was going on there. And so we entered into that community knowing the context of that community, and the method, the best way we found that we could have used to impact that community was sport. When we got there the first day and we arrived in the bus and we got on that huge playing field in Old Harbor, the entire field was empty. There was no one there. Now, prior to going there, we would have engaged and informed the community, the families, even some of the representatives there, that we would like to come and have a sport camp with the young people and the residents of the community. And so they gave us the date and we arrived there. And when we got on the field, there was nobody there. So we thought that, well, these persons forgot that we were coming, or they were no longer interested. And so we were between two places. Should we leave and return back to our base in Kingston, or should we wait a little while? And so we decided that we were going to come out of the bus, and we just started to kick the football and play casually. Somebody went into the goal, and other persons were making and taking free kicks. And within 5 minutes of doing that, persons started to come from different places in that community. And in 5 minutes, a field that was empty was filled with over 200 people. Where did they came from in 5 minutes? Only God can work that math. But I was convinced at that moment that they came out because of the power that sport has. Now, there was just about all persons from all different walks of life. And the way we got to communicate the gospel, the way we got to connect with individuals using sport, we could not have done that a normal, um, orthodox way. And so sport opened a door of being able to communicate and to live the gospel before individuals who were considered or who saw us as strangers, as persons that they did not know or persons that they were not familiar with. And I'm sharing that because despite the language barriers that we may have in our world, despite all of the intricacies that culture may play in making us different and unique and making us separate from each other, one of the commonalities that sport has is to be able to unite us. If I, as a Guyanese, decide that I am going to arrive in China and I don't know Mandarin, I don't know Chinese, I don't know any language to communicate to these individuals, and I decide that I want to go to China and I go on a football field and I roll a football, I do not have to say a word, but everybody will know what they need to do with the football. And that is the power and potential of sport. It is a language that allows us to connect with individuals and a setting that it provides for us to live and communicate the gospel message of Jesus Christ. Sport is powerful and potential also because it is fun and healthy. And one of the things that is a given is that people like to have a good time, people like to have fun, and it is healthy as well. And so these are the reasons why sport is so powerful and sport has so many potential. Now, this slide is just a slide showing the heart values of the movement. I'm just going to glide over these. It talks about what we do, where we do it, how we do it. And in the sports movement, of course, we proclaim the gospel, we make disciples, we obey the Bible. So that is what we do. Where we do it in and through the church, in sport and play, in every city, every community. And how we do it as servants, we work as teams, and we partner. And that's just a quick overview of the heart values that govern the sports movement and allows us to continue and to make disciples in the world of sport and play. And so, at the essence of it, the sports movement is a disciple making movement. It is a movement where disciple making, where discipleship is central, discipleship is critical, discipleship is what we do, what we encourage, what determines the success of what we do. We're not a club where persons come and they're a part of something, but we're a disciple making movement, and we encourage, we envision, we help persons to see how they can also use sport to make disciples, especially in this 21st century age. Now, I want to share a text with you, Matthew 28, 18 to 20, very familiar to all of us here. It says, Then Jesus came to them and said, All authority in heaven and earth has been given to me, and therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. Now, there's a few things here in this text that speaks to how God has called us to use what He has created and orchestrated on the earth, and with sport being one of the spheres of influence, He expects us to use that to go to all nations. So he says that all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me, and as his followers, as his disciples, as believers, it means that that authority also is granted to us. And so God has given us authority across the earth. And He hasn't given us the authority just to say that we have or we possess the power of His Holy Spirit or His authority, but He has given us this authority to, to fulfill an assignment, to make disciples of all nations. Now, making disciples of all nations is not restricted to just one thing alone, but making disciples of all nations entails utilizing different tools, different vehicles to do that. And I loved when I was asked to share today, and I saw that the focus of this amazing organization that you guys have is using these spheres of influence to be able to impact the world. And without a doubt, sport is a sphere of influence. And so the way I read this from a context of, of sport is that God has given me the authority as his disciple, as his follower, to go and make disciples of all nations through sport. And as I do that, he has equipped me to be able to teach individuals to obey everything He has commanded me. And I know that as I'm going with this vehicle that we call sport, that I'm going not on my own understanding, but I'm going with Him as He's with me always to the end of age. And so sport is a tool that should be used to go to the nations. And I go even further to say that in places where orthodox or ordinary ministry might be banned or restricted, sports provide us with access to those places. And I speak from experience because I was involved in athletics as an athlete, and there were different times that I had the opportunity to represent my country, Guyana. And in representing my nation, Guyana, the ease that I got in being able to get things like visas or travel to different countries, it was easier than the average person who may not have been traveling for the purposes of sport. And so when we think about how sport is impactful, sport gives us access to places where ordinary or regular ministry may not give us access to. And so God has called us to use sport to go to all the nations. And there's 6 target groups that this sports movement globally and regionally target. The first target group is something called Go Sport. And Go Sport talks about targeting competitive athletes, targeting athletes who compete on a global scale, who use their platforms to compete. And the reason why it is important to target competitive athletes is because, and we have seen in the recently concluded Olympic Games, that there are many opportunities, there are many available areas in which a professional athlete has to be able to share the gospel. The amount of persons that professional athletes may have to impact in a day or in a week or over the course of a competition, we, the ordinary human being, may not have the opportunity to have that level of impact. And so, what we do, we target professional athletes and we help them to be able to use their sport, to use their profession to share the gospel as a platform for sharing the gospel. And even as I speak, there are many different professional athletes across the world that is connected to the sports movement, that is connected to sports globally, that uses their platform whenever they have the opportunity to talk about Jesus Christ, to share the gospel message, to inspire and to impact persons with the gospel. And so, Go Sport is one of the ways and one of the modes that we use to impact others. Now, here's the thing, it shows and it says that just about 10 to 15% of the entire world would ever be a professional athlete. And so this group of individuals is very small. And so it means that all of us here may not or may never get the opportunity to be a professional athlete or to compete at the highest level where we're being paid to compete, where we're earning to compete, where we have a platform that is large that we can share when we're competing. But it doesn't mean that sport is not for you, because the other um, area of focus or target that the sports movement targets is something called Go Play. Now, Go Sport deals with the professional athlete and sport on a professional level, being able to target and impact them. Go Play, on the other hand, deals with persons who are not professional or who are competing for fun or who are competing in a very novice stage or who is just playing to have a good time. And just about everybody in our world can fall into this Go Play bracket. So even you, the individuals here on this platform this afternoon, who may not be a sports fanatic or may not be a sports person competing in sport, Go Play is an area that you can be a part of. And Go Play spans for activities and games for children, kids' games for teenagers, for adults, for families. Go Play is a very large and broad platform that just about everybody can be able to be a part of. And this photograph that you're seeing is a photograph that was taken in Barbados at a Y1 base. And it was an activity that we were having a part of a camp called Multiply School. And so, as you can see, the aim of the activity was for the individual to try to break the rope or lower the rope while the others had to try to keep it all tight. And so, Go Play is an area where everybody can be involved, everybody can participate, everybody can be engaged in an activity and can use that activity as a means and a medium of making disciples, having um, a, a evening games night in your home or an evening games night at your local church can be considered a go play activity. And then there is also go health and fitness, which is also an area of target that the sports movement used to make disciples. Now, I want to ask a question. During the COVID 19 pandemic, could anyone tell me what was the most purchased item? Now, I remember during the COVID 19 outbreak, there was a trend where persons were buying lots of toilet paper. And you would believe that toilet paper was one of the most purchased item during the COVID-19 pandemic, or maybe a face mask, or maybe vitamins. Now, all of these responses are good responses. These things were being purchased and being purchased a lot, but it was not the most purchased item. Neither was it sanitizer. But the most purchased item was a particular sports equipment. And that sports equipment is looking at us right there on the screen. The most purchased item during the COVID 19 pandemic in 2020, 2021 was a dumbbell. A dumbbell was the most purchased was the most purchased item worldwide during the COVID 19 pandemic. Now, that's very interesting because you would imagine that persons would be purchasing sanitizers and face masks and toilet paper or anything that may protect them from infecting or getting this particular COVID 19 infection. But studies have shown that the most purchased item was a dumbbell on Amazon, on eBay, on just about every website that was doing e-commerce and drop shipping. These were the most purchased items. And why was it the most purchased item? Because persons realized during that particular time that health was wealth. Health was important to them. And many persons who were seemingly becoming infected or affected by the COVID 19 pandemic, they were becoming infected or affected because it was made known that maybe the immune system was not strong enough or not resistant enough. And a lot of persons during the COVID 19 pandemic started to realize that health is important. And so lots of gyms, thousands of gyms worldwide sprung up during the COVID 19 pandemic. Thousands, millions of dumbbells worldwide were purchased during the COVID 19 pandemic. Millions, billions of people worldwide decided that they were going to take health and fitness more important and more critical to their everyday lives. And in the same way, as a sports movement, health and fitness is one of those areas that we take a lot of priority in because we realize that, especially in the context of the Caribbean and North America, there's a lot of communicable diseases that are affecting persons today. And many of it has a direct impact on two things: one's diet and also one's health practices. And so, as a sports movement, we train and we teach and we engage and we equip individuals to use health and fitness as a disciple making tool. I have a very personal friend who lives in Malaysia, and he runs a fitness church. So they gathered on the weekends, they gather on Sunday evenings in the gym, and they have a program that they work with. And while that program is going on, they're talking, they're engaging with each other. The gospel is being shared. Someone is delivering a message. And so that's what they do. So he have a health and fitness church, and they meet every week. And as they meet, they do two things: they work out physically, and they also work out spiritually, where they receive the gospel message of salvation, and then they are encouraged that when they go and they come back next week, that they should bring a friend with them. And that is how the ministry grows. So health and fitness is a very, very important aspect of the sports movement. The other Go teams include Go All Ability, and this is very important, includes Go Gaming and Go Action Sport. Now, when we think about sport, sport transcends just what we may consider the normal human being. And Go All Ability is an area that the sports movement targets in making disciples, because those persons with a disability or people with a disability are just as deserving, critical, and important in the kingdom of God and of the gospel than everybody else deserves. And so, Go All Ability is a group, is an area where this is a target for the sports movement. And we encourage local churches and Christian organizations and youth groups to be able to engage persons who may have a disability with the gospel message of salvation. The other thing is Go Gaming, and as you can see right on the screen, 91% of kids from ages 2 to 17 are gaming. And that is a statistic that can be found on cnet.com. So almost 100% of children from ages 2 to 17 are engaged in games on a daily basis. And because they're engaged in games on a daily basis, it means that that is an avenue that we can use to be able to share the gospel. I know many of us may have children or nephews or nieces that today they may know to use and find things on a smartphone better than many of us can. And so Go Gaming is a rising and fast rising Go strategy where persons are impacted with the gospel. Um, then there's Go Action Sport. This deals with persons who like high adrenaline sport, skateboarding, ice skiing, bungee jumping. This is also an area of impact as well. And so these are the different Go families that we impact and that we partner with or we target in the sports movement. In addition to that, we also target youth ministries, Sunday schools, and local churches, helping them to see how they can be able to reach and use sport as a tool to complement what they're already doing, as a tool to be able to make more disciples, as a tool to help them to break ground in communities or in areas where regular contemporary ministry may not allow them to do so. And this is basically the work of the Caribbean Sport and Leadership Movement. And as I conclude this afternoon, I just want to share with you a vision or a goal that we have. And I would encourage you to keep us in your prayers as well, as you would have your times of intercession. Our desire is to see one Christ-centered disciple in every home in the Caribbean by 2030. And we plan to do that using sport and play as a vehicle that will allow us to be able to reach this goal, to reach this reality. And this map here, it gives us a representation of the 32 countries may geographically or that may make up the Caribbean region that we may have. Now you would notice the Hispanic areas of Dominican Republic, and they do not specifically fall under our jurisdiction, but they fall in the Latin American jurisdiction. But this document is showing us that out of the 32 countries, which includes Haiti, the French speaking Caribbean, the English speaking Caribbean, the Dutch speaking Caribbean, that out of these 32 countries, 31 of them would have been reached over the past 20 years using sport as a vehicle. There's one more territory that we are yet to engage in, that is St. Bartholomew. But every other territory here, sport has allowed us to engage, to reach, and to impact and to make disciples. And this is just a small fraction of what is happening on a global scale, and how sport is being used to be able to carry the gospel and to share the gospel in areas and places that might be restrictive, areas and places that may in that may endure serious persecution, in areas and places that regular ministry may not get you or may not allow you. And so the question is, can you benefit from sports ministry? And that is a question that I want for you to answer. Do you think that you can benefit from sports ministry, or from utilizing sport as a vehicle that you can use to be able to make disciples? Can you benefit from that? Do you think you can benefit from that? Seeing somebody saying yes, of course, is another question. Can wailing women worldwide benefit from sports ministry? And I believe the answer to this question also is absolutely yes. And so if you're here and you're saying, I want to know more, or become plugged in or attached or a part of what is happening in this global sports movement, you can connect with Reverend Ruth Lawrence. I just want to do one more thing quickly. I want to share with you our website to show you of all that is happening and all of the potential material that is available. With me here is our website, www.readysetgo.world. And if you type this in on Google, you'll be able to see this here. And it talks about all that you may want to know or learn about the sports movement. And the sports movement is open source, so just about anybody can go and can review the material, can download the material, can contextualize the material as well to be able to fit your context. And I just want to go into the gallery here. And as you can see, the gallery has lots of different materials. So there's things on Go Sport, on Go Play, there's material on Go Fitness, Go Action Sport, Go All Ability, Go Gaming. And if I'm to click into one of these Go modes, if I click into Go Play here, there are many other different things. There's something called Family Fit, there's Kids Games, there's Families on a Mission, there's Youth Leadership Development, there's Multiply School Training, there are podcasts, and all of these other different things that are available here. So I just wanted to share that with you. The website is www.readysetgo.world. And in your spare time, you can be able to check it out and see how all of the different information and materials can be used, um, and can be adapted and contextualized in your different contexts. So I want to thank you, um, for having me, for giving me the opportunity to share with you over these past 55 minutes or so. And I trust that you would have been able to gain, and learn from the presentation. So may God bless you. Thank you for having me.